Greg, let me ask you a question, Greg, and that is, if I might, and that is the husband of the Mr. Peacock. Anything going on with that? Has he filed a lawsuit? Has anybody talked to him in more detail? Do you know?
He has not filed a lawsuit that I'm aware of. He is, other than for divorce, maybe. But he has said that the congressman has wrecked his life. He loved his wife. He's heartbroken. He can't believe it. He's in two different interviews. Now he's now saying he's not going to give any more interviews. But that's not. We have seen politicians survive and thrive. I mean, Senator Vitter right now, at least, is the front runner for the next gubernatorial election. But those that survive, I think you generally find this one thing that's different is that those people, from Bill Clinton to Senator Vitter, had their party rally behind them rather than abandon them, or at least show some signs of support. In this case, he doesn't have the infrastructure behind him to gird his his seat. So I don't know.
Go on, Lawrence. I think you.
Yeah, let me just say this: that from a political standpoint, what I said earlier, I think, is critical for this guy to do, and that is to get out in front of the public, in front of the press, and express his remorse and try to begin to make amends in that way. Now, what we don't know is what's going on back home. And I don't mean back home in the district. I mean back home in the family home. I mean, we don't know what's going on inside of there. What's his wife's attitude? What's his kid's attitude? What is that all about? But what he has to do, if he wants to have a chance to survive politically, he's going to have to get in front of the press and take that beating. He's going to have to do it.
But
and then what he's got to do is do what I think what Jim was saying is start the apology tour. Start going around the district, start going to the churches, start meeting with people, and do the apology tour. If he doesn't do any of that, and I'm in agreement with Jim, and I don't know that district the way Jim does, but certainly if he doesn't at least do that, he's got absolutely no chance of getting reelected, in my opinion. As far as the politicians are concerned, I'm sure he is discounting whatever they say. They didn't support him when he ran. He got elected despite them. So their input, I'm sure, is not critical to him. But what the public thinks is critical, and that's why he needs to get out there and start that apology or mea culpa tour, because that's the only shot he's got, in my opinion.
Greg, you were going to comment, please?
Well, I was just going to point out that although Senator Vitter did apologize, after that he shut down. He wouldn't speak to media. He said, "I will not speak of it again." He went on no tour. That was it. And in fact, he only for years, and still to some extent, does not go to editorial boards, to gatherings where there might be someone ask him that about it. So he did apologize, but then he said, "I won't speak of it again."
And worse, if I can follow up on that, is that he then says that he has talked about it. The only thing he said is that I've sinned, but he hasn't even told us what the sin's about. But let me ask you, what about Mr. Robertson? Now, has he, from Duck Dynasty, obviously, he was up in Congress, and his wife were up in Congress during the swearing in. Has he made any statement? Is he going to go on tour with, with the congressman?
I don't think he's going to go on tour. I have talked to Willie Robertson and the oldest brother, Al Robertson. Both would only say they have no comment at this time. I asked Congressman McAllister if he had talked to him. He said he had talked to Willie, and that Willie had told him that he needed to settle his private life privately. So that's it. I have talked to the Duck Dynasty folks, but they're not interested in expanding on their thoughts.
Another question I have is that I read, I think it was a tweet, And basically what it said was that somebody reported that Mr. Peacock had been close friends, a contributor to the congressman, and had made a statement that the congressman was the least religious person that he knew. Is that something that you reported? Have you read that? Can you provide some information about that for us?
We did report it. I didn't write that particular story. That was a CNN story, but we did run that story with the quotes, and he did say that when he asked during the campaign, when he asked then Vance McAllister, what is this about you and these commercials with you in church? He said, when did you become religious? And Mr. Peacock said McAllister's response was, well, when I needed the votes. Now, of course, that's Mr. Peacock's story. I do know that the two families were close friends, often did things together, including their children. So it's a really terribly sad situation.
Lawrence, Jim, do you have any questions about some of the facts that everybody's interested in?
Well, it's not a simple story. It's somewhat complicated. Our friend Butch Aswell, who's from Ruston initially, a political columnist from here in the Baton Rouge area, kind of tried to sum it up in a column today. He brought up the Peacock relationship with McAllister, and this is who actually did the video, somebody inside. Why would they do it if they're on the payroll? This is a little more complicated than, say, the Vitter situation. So the story has legs. I'm looking at Politico.com, the Insider Washington publication. The lead story right now is how to survive a scandal. They're doing up there in Washington exactly what we're doing right here with some of their reporters sitting around a table saying how it will affect his standing in the House and what he can do to survive. So it's a complicated story that's got legs. Unfortunately, for McAllister, it's not going away. This story's got a lot of legs, and it's got a long, long way to go. So I'm sure we'll be talking about this in other Google Hangouts here for some time to come.
Lawrence, do you have any questions? I have a few other questions I wanted to ask Greg about. Do you have any my comment at this point would simply be that everything that could be bad about this story for the congressman is in fact bad. As I said earlier, this wasn't something that was in print. You've got the video, and that's the worst of all. I mean, there's nothing left to the imagination when you see that video. And I think that's probably what his biggest problem is, and that may be what's causing such a great a great cry for him to step down. And I'm sure a lot of people in the district extremely disappointed, because it's not just that he kissed someone. It's not that he may have kissed them in a passionate way. You get to watch it. You get to be a voyeur through the whole thing. And a picture is worth 1,000 words. There's nobody, I don't care how good of a writer you are, there's absolutely no way that the written word can outdo watching the video. And that's his big problem. And that's why, to survive politically, he's got to address it some kind of way at some point if he wants to try and survive this politically. Greg, I fully understand, and I think we all agree with you there. But, Greg, let me ask you this. Any facts in terms of how this story actually came about? I mean, we're not sure who actually took the video, but, that was, what, a few months ago. And this video has been around. The video, as I understand, showed up at a newspaper in Wachita. Am I correct?
Washita.
Washita.
Hey, Greg,
Okay.
Greg, you can sure tell that he ain't no redneck, can't you? So
That's right.
one of those New Orleans guys. They don't know how we deal up this way.
He hadn't been to the Hall of Fame Music and Faraday.
Yeah, I'm having problems with Jefferson down here, but saying that. I mean, nevertheless, I mean, the film showed up in a newspaper, small newspaper, and then an hour later, as I understand it, and this is what was reported by one of the bloggers, An hour later, Politico had it. I think y'all got it also within that time frame. So, I mean, any information about that? I mean, I know there are sources that you can't reveal and all, but it sounds to me like this thing was planned. Part of it was planned. The release of it was planned.
Well, the story that accompanied the video was very detailed, very well done. So that it was clear that the reporter who did that had been working on it for quite a while, days probably. Now, as far as the timing of the release, or I did read somewhere where they said, now how could someone at a small weekly newspaper and it catch on so quick? Well, as soon as these days it doesn't matter whether you're a small weekly newspaper or just some individual. If you have something that powerful, it picks up so fast on the internet. So I'm not surprised that it lit fire that fast across the country.
What about the fact that it was subdued for delayed and maybe kept underground for 3 or 4 months?
Well, the minister who accuses the staff member of leaking the video said that she had held it, had taken it to, was in a quandary of what to do about it. Now, of course, we've run that story. I don't know that firsthand, so I don't know what if it was Miss Gordon. I don't know what her motive was or what she was thinking, and if it wasn't, who knows? But the minister says that he'll go to court if he has to. He doesn't want to, but he'll go to court if he has to and produce witnesses. And of course, we see now that the congressman has decided he doesn't want anybody in court because he backed off the FBI investigation on Wednesday that he told me on Monday night and Tuesday, and his chief of staff told me that they thought was important because it was what they called a grave breach of a security in a federal office.
I've heard that before down here in New Orleans with the Mary Landrieu situation and the telephone.